My dad lost his job when I was 8 in the fiscal crisis of the mid-'70s. New York City went bankrupt. Thousands of public sector workers were laid off. And then when I was 14, my dad passed away. So that was the beginning of a tough time for my family. My mom was on her own, substitute taught during the days in the local schools. And then she would go to a small publishing company at night. And that led to a whole chain of events where the impact of these broad macro forces come down and impact us on the local level. So we had moved from Manhattan to Patchogue when I was 4, and the first house we lived in was a beautiful old Victorian house on the other side of town, by the water on Bay Avenue. And then when my dad lost his job, we really couldn't afford to stay in that house. So we moved here and we rented the second floor here on Price Street. It felt very different, and definitely the people here were, at that time, were struggling. As I pursued a career and thought about what I wanted to do, again, that issue of what is the job of government and how can government have a positive impact on our lives, whether it's locally, nationally, internationally. How is it that government can be a force for good? So I made that choice to pursue public service with that in mind. For my mom, she worked all the time. So for me, it meant that I was on my own a lot, and what kind of carried me through was the support of friends and teachers. The teaching was excellent. They gave me really quality in terms of the substance, but then also they were looking out for me. I mean, the teachers came to my house after my dad died. 4 teachers came. There were family friends who would have me over for dinner once a week on a regular basis throughout that time, which made a huge difference. A huge difference. I got that attention. The question is this, how do you create an environment where everyone who's, someone's struggling in their home life or whatever, how do they get that attention? My mom worked so hard. And, when she was 61, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. She had no pension, no health care. She worked incredibly hard all of her life. Medicaid saved us. There's all this talk about entitlements. Is it Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? They're not entitlements. This is our safety net, right? These are things that we need to preserve. Investments in people are good investments. Investments in education, investments in youth programs, investments in senior programs, investments in housing programs. These are not unwise investments. These are not handouts. This is part of how we build a good society where individuals and communities can thrive. I've devoted my whole life to public service, to seeing that government is effective and truly working in the public interest. You've heard my story. I grew up in Patchogue, graduated from high school here. Mom lived here for 30 years. During the time my family struggled, it was my friends and teachers that carried me through. So now I've come back to the district to provide great representation for the community that made me the person I am today.